The post-pandemic, which is a new reality, re-establishes major work trends. HR leaders need to rethink the workforce and employee planning, their management, their performance, and most importantly, their experience strategies. Well, ladies and gentlemen, people are complex and everyone distinctly different from each other. The complexity grows multifold in a workplace where people from different beliefs and ideas work together to a common goal. To understand these intricacies and pave a path for the appropriate employee experience in the new reality, it is a big task for any organization. We have invited a panel of experts who are leading in their own right and have rich, diverse, and professional experience for an in-depth discussion in this area of work. I would like to meet our panelists for this panel discussion on the employee-centered experiences in the new reality. I would like to introduce each of our panelists one by one. Let's welcome Mr. Satish Rajarathnam, the Senior Vice President HR of Mphasis. He has over 23 years of global experience across multiple industry verticals and proven expertise in strategizing and transforming business through human capital strategy, transformation, and coaching. Adept at enabling business agility, building digital capabilities, leadership development, succession planning, cultural transformation, and change management. Satish is associated with several industry groups and associations such as NHRD, SHRM, Agile Leadership, Six Sigma, among many others. Welcome, sir.
Pleasure, thank you.
Let me now introduce you to our next panelist, Mr. Deepak Mishra, a global talent management leader for the Sutherland Global. As a global talent management leader, he is working with the global teams across Americas, EMEA, and APAC to enhance the employee experience and talent management practices. He has 20 years of experience and a successful track record of managing all the verticals of HR and IR. He worked in various industries such as IT-enabled services, telecom, and manufacturing. Elated to have you for the panel, sir. Our next renowned panelist is the head of corporate HR for Star Union Dai-ichi Life Insurance Company Limited, Mr. Deepankar Sadhukhan, heading the talent management, L&D, employee experience, communications of Center of Excellence, in addition to the HR business partner for corporate functions. He has 10+ years of experience across BFSI, manufacturing, and retail industries, and deep experience into talent development, acquisition, business partnering, employee experience, analytics, and HR technology, most importantly. Currently, he is on an exciting journey to establish SUD Life as the most preferred employer brand in this space, along with creating meaningful experiences for the employees. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Piali. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And last but not the least, our moderator for the panel discussion is none other than Dr. Kanupriya Manchanda, the Vice President HR of Infobeans. Well, in her words, hearts are tougher to handle than minds, and HR is all about building heartily relations. Kanupriya is a self-directed and motivated professional with over 15 years of diverse HR experience and is a subject matter expert in talent management, employee engagement, employer branding, change, and culture management. She specializes in weaving the cultural fabric in the organization, has been a key contributor in Infobeans' journey of being recognized as Dream Companies to Work For, Great Place to Work, Asia's Best Employer Brand Award, Best CSR Practice Award, Best Exporting Company, and many more. Needless to say, her journey has been all about self-learning and the zeal to beat your best every day. Welcome and happy to have you all with us today. I'm sure it is going to be an inspiring and thought-provoking conversations. Over to you, Dr. Kanupriya.
Thank you so much, Piali, for such an august introduction for all the panelists. It's been an esteemed honor here for me today to represent and the entire HR fraternity, such an esteemed panel, and talk about what is the real need of the hour, right? So millennials and the tech Z that is coming in, they are no longer interested in just experiences. It's about creating an extraordinary experience, creating that personalization, that uniqueness that it brings in. And especially post-pandemic, the way the market has been chasing out around, and it's a blend of hybrid to permanent remote working. It is an equally challenging task for HR fraternity to keep the workforce engaged and involved, especially with the newbies, to get them imbibed onto the culture. So probably in the next 40 minutes or so, team, we are going to have put our esteemed panel and my dear friends, Deepankar, Deepak, and Satish at a little tough spot, some hard-toying questions, some real runtime elements where they can go and implement it right from the elements. So really looking forward for it. And to begin with, so without any further ado, I would like to start off, and probably Deepak, the first question that goes out for you here is like, so post-pandemic, the new world has new problems and new reality has new challenges, right? Metaverse is exciting and a futuristic technology. As per your opinion, what it is it a hype? Is it a hope? Or is it hell, right? So what do you feel about metaverse and how it would unfold and transform the industry?
So thank you, Dr. Kanupriya. I think the first reality I faced is we still don't have proper bandwidth in place, right? So we're talking about metaverse and it's going to be soon a reality. There's no doubt about it. And it's going to pose several challenges. It's a big hope that we all have, because new technologies would emerge, new jobs would emerge, help economy in a very different way. And the way changes will happen in the society will also be noticeable. So yeah, it's a mix of everything that we could even imagine as of now.
Great, great. Deepak, that's insightful. And as you rightly said, it's no more far off, right? So any thoughts from you, Deepankar, on the same question? What do you feel? How would metaverse transform the industry?
So is something. So let me go back in our times. When I was young, so metaverse, of course, came in sometime around 1992 in one of the movies. But the one that I remember, which is Matrix. So you can, to some extent, do that, and still it's with me. It's one of the best movies, action movies of that time. So we liked it, and that's why now, if you see on because of COVID, we have understood and that work from home also works, or work from anywhere also works. In our type of an industry, in a BFSI space, there are regulations related to data being within the geography of the country, that given, so work from anywhere works. And now we started with an MS Teams or a Zoom and all of this, and that has become a passe now. That experience is over. So now when we go to the IITs and some top B schools as well in the country, and we interact a lot with our young guys, they are looking, there's a constant thing coming in. Is there something going on for metaverse? Is it going to happen in our organization? And I think that's the echo everywhere, wherever we go. So it's, of course, it's a great thing to have, not only for HR, but for all services, be it sales, it is going anyway, it's there. So a lot of organizations are already using it, and it's giving them great leverage. And for employees too, it will probably be a game changer. Of course, we'll have to understand what works best for whom, what are the certain infrastructure requirements we have that Deepak also talked about in the beginning. So all of these are there, but definitely a positive move. We can look forward to it. Huge potential.
Very true, Deepankar. No longer one hat fits all, and it has to be customized in. So over to you, Satish. Any opening remarks from your end?
Well, I'm gonna bank on Deepankar as well, right? If metrics is, if I were to put in Web 2.0, the Marvel Studios is Web 3.0, right? And that's a metaverse that you're looking at this point in time, right? From an analogy standpoint, it just shows us how close, how real it's shown in, at least in the real life. There are multiple universe, and you can jump between one and the other. If that has to be moved into, what all of us call as the next big thing of internet, I think that's metaverse to us, right? How can you use an environment, make it very human-centric? It can be self-sustaining. You can share, or in other words, right, create your own avatars. What you see right now in the video, I won't look the same with the same gray hair in the metaverse, right? I can show myself young, but yeah, there are quotes and unquotes to it anyway. But the point is, it's going to be the next big thing, right? If to the second part of the question that you had asked, is it real? Well, the journey is something that's seen virtually. There are big FAANG companies that are totally into this and moving the entire ecosystem towards metaverse. So for all that you may know, you can become a farmer on the internet. You can become an artist on the internet. You can become an IT developer on the internet. You can quote unquote any profession on the internet in the days to come. But having said that, there are ifs and buts, and there are pros and cons to it, which we will discuss in our conversation. Yeah.
Very true. And probably, Satish, next time, instead of buying a flat in Navi Mumbai, we might end up buying a piece of land on the moon with the help of metaverse. So definitely a lot to unfold in. So jumping on, probably my next question goes to you, Deepankar, which is like, from pixels to voxels now, right? How will metaverse reframe the human-centered experience, and what aspects of employee journey in together you feel it could have a deep impact and touch upon?
Yeah. So a good one, I guess, in terms of the question and how metaverse actually blends into HR practices in organizations. So I'll take a step back and probably talk about a bit about the candidate journeys as well.
Absolutely.
So so how do you really attract people to join an organization? Yeah. Today, there are multiple areas. They go to websites, they do this and that, there's connect programs, all of these are there. There are these simulations that they go into and all of this. So can we get people to really get into an organization metaverse, which lies somewhere within a secured field? They come in and they experience the organization. They speak to their peer group. They engage in an office environment. Okay. Internships can happen through metaverse for sure. Yeah. Certain internships can, of course, happen through metaverse. There are immersive programs that can happen. Live projects can happen through metaverse. They can come over, they can speak to their mentors, be also part of these water cooler discussions. So they get a feel of how the culture of the organization is, what is in it for me. It's, if I join this organization, what can I expect? It starts from there. The impact areas are endless. The thing is, one, what to the max are we imagining, and what to the max can we do? So as I see it, onboarding is a great area that we can really start it off. And there are a few companies who are already doing it. Yesterday was meeting somebody who is a gamification expert, and we were having this discussion. So we had already used augmented reality in onboarding before. So it's not, so some 3 years back, we would have already used it. So it's not very old. Yeah, we'll have to improvise a bit. Onboarding, very clearly interviews. And when we're talking about interviews, till now, it was only assessments. Okay, online assessments that we do. So what metaverse would do, it would be a face-to-face interview. It would create that, so it will give the hiring manager and the organization better leverage to understand the candidate better. So that impacts immediately the quality of hiring. Then people come in, and if you look at the onboarding process, post that, which goes on for maybe a year or so, all these capsules within the onboarding process moves into your L&D. It has a great impact. So today we are doing workshops. Certain workshops, people still say, very senior trainers, it's not possible to do without face-to-face, and we partially agree to it. Metaverse is going to make that bridge between what is real and the virtual. So how best we can use it is going to define as an organization how evolved we are and how to creating those employee connects experiences for them in an environment which is flexible, allows them to communicate, allows them to collaborate, and allows them to experience the culture of the organization.
Very true, Deepankar. So beautifully touched on onboarding, recruitment, L&D, and the entire life cycle that falls in place when it comes to the entire perspective of the employee journey that comes in. Right. So, Satish, let's delve deep into one of the first elements, which is onboarding. Right. So, when it comes to so there are a number of businesses, as Deepak rightly said about. Deepankar said about you, we were already using VR for the onboarding process earlier as well, but aim to substitute the traditional in-person onboarding process with the digital VR metaverse-based alternatives. How would metaverse reinvent the onboarding experience? If we can go a level deep here and understand within the onboarding domain, what else would change it?
Well, I'll pick a leaf from where Deepankar had left, right? So when you talk about metaverse, the other quote unquote cliches that would also join in is about blockchains and NFTs and AR, VRs, and all of these are jargons that get added on in the metaverse world that we're even talking about. Specifically, because you want us to focus on onboarding. Look, traditionally onboarding is like what Deepankar said. It's all been through a link that an organization sends a potential incumbent saying, look, why don't you upload all the documents, right? Once the documents are uploaded, it's been sent for BGV checks and other stuff. And once BGV is cleared, organization sends back saying, thank you, and this is your onboarding date, blah, 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 and you join in. And then you send a welcome emailer, welcome kit, joining kit, and all of this stuff happens, right? That's a cycle. It's a waterfall that happens. But look at it in the same in a metaverse, right? If you try to reimagine, or rather imagine in the first place, then we can do reimagination. If all of these are going to happen virtually, like what Deepankar said, using augmented reality, right? So you're going to send the incumbent, or maybe the incumbent may have a 3D glass or a Google Glass or whatever glass that it is. You're going to just tell them, look, scan this and wear your glass. There you go, your onboarding is done, right? It might sound very, very cliche. It might sound very, very James Bondish, futurish kind of concept, but that's where we're heading towards as well, right? How do in today's world, how do the internet create an environment in the name of metaverse, create a very highly interactive platform to say so, right? We've seen this in reality world, in the sense the realtors world, right? You walk into a interior designer, for example, right? They take you through a journey saying, this is your living space, this is your drawing space, this is your kitchen, this is your, whatever, right? You put in a color, you take out a color, you can plant a tree, you can take out a tree wherever you wanted to. That's the VR in even kind of getting a home space done, for example. Reimagine this in an onboarding space as well, right? You walk through a potential candidate through a journey saying, look, you're entering the world of Mphasis. I mean, that's my organization, right? You walk in, we are a digital next company, and everything is done digital. So you're able to connect a potential candidate digitally and also take you through your organization's prerogative of we being next-gen digital solution providers as well. That would sink in much more, right? And jumping back into your onboarding question, if all of these onboarding is going to happen through the cliche that I said, using blockchain technology, how often in HR that we do background verifications, right? Every company that you go 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? Every company does your past 5 years and 10 years background verification. Look at the amount of time, effort, and money that's been spent. Let's presume if there is a blockchain collaborator who does all of these in single sign-on, like you use your Aadhaar, your thumb impression gets your entire history through Aadhaar. Can this be done for blockchain on your background verification? Look how simple that it could get. You don't need to wait for 14 days to 30 days, or if it's going to be pandemic, then you don't have to wait for enormous number of days to get a educational background check done or previous employer check done, right? All of these are going to be done using blockchain, right? In the metaverse, that's going to be possible. There will be technologies that will come in and say, hey, Satish, you're joining this organization. All we need is your thumb impression or Aadhaar. It'll do all the background verification. You don't have to submit anything at all. Up until your previous last employer, your data is there. You don't have to redo everything. You don't have to submit forms. You don't have to submit multiple validation cards, your photos, and all of those are done, right? In just click of a second. And that is what you're looking at blockchain in the metaverse world that you're talking about. And what's going to aid this? It's already there. Like what Deepankar said, in the learning world today, we are implementing what we call as NFTs, non-fungible tokens, right? How do you contribute towards a learning? That'll get added on to your credentials. This is like your flying miles points, right? Or you flash a credit card, you get bonuses, right? It's like that. So it's already a reality. I don't want to say it's futuristic, right? NFT is already a reality. Blockchain is already a reality. Now, Metaverse is trying to bring in all these technologies under one umbrella. If that's going to happen, I guess the first function that will be benefited enormously through this is the people function. Yeah, not just onboarding. Look at a you want to do a candidate screening. It's all done. Your NFT is taken care of that, right? Your blockchain will give you the transition from social to meta, if I want to put it that way, right? You give a thumb impression, it'll say, hey, here you go. Here's Dr. Kanupriya. She's been there in the LinkedIn for so much time. These are top 5 jobs she's already done. That means she would have been well versed in these capabilities, and hence she's already pre-screened. Go ahead and interview, right? And that's going to happen in metaverse, right? Your recruiters are going to be in some avatar which you like, for example, right? Kanupriya, whoever that you like the most, right? All that you may know is someone who's favorite as your character in a movie could be your avatar. You could choose your avatar and say, be my recruiter. Making life simpler, making life much more interactive, making life much more faster than what it is today. That's metaverse to me, right? Whether it's recruitment, whether it's onboarding, whether it's learning. Look at the number of gamification, performance management. It's a big fat elephant in any HR function today. How often managers in today's world do a quarterly check and give feedback and take feedback, right? If you gamify these, put in a glass to it and say, look, everything is gamified. You and your team member are going to run a 100-meter race. In the due course, you complete your elevator pitch of, hey, this is my feedback to you. Can you share your feedback? How exciting that it's going to be, right? All these in 2 minutes in a virtual reality. And that is what you're looking at.
Awesome, Satish. I think you touched upon some beautiful nuggets about learning and development, the trust element coming in, and everybody speaking into the new avatars that comes in. We were going to touch on all of those further in our discussion. So probably one aspect of what you really just mentioned, and Deepak, probably passing it on to you from here, it is always easy to establish trust when you've seen each other, you've met each other, right? So when we formed out as a panel, right, we connected before just to know each other, and we are able to get familiarized, right? So in this so-called semi-virtual real world, which is the metaverse is going to get into it, how can we leverage metaverse for establishing the trust and reinforcing the culture? Because the human side of it, the people side of it, obviously technology is going to be a game changer, especially millennials. Their attention span is very small, right? So they really need things quick. An SSO kind of a thing for the entire onboarding is ideal. But the trust element, how do we can leverage metaverse to establish that trust side, which is the core of a people function? Yeah.
So in my view, the first thing we need to understand is that's metaverse is a reality. It's soon going to happen, right? And this the last 2 years that we have been into have taught us that how technology can quickly change the way we work, the way we deal with each other. Some things that we were thinking that, would be fit for some companies or some organizations may not be fit for other, suddenly has become, one fit for all. We have seen that how virtual platforms are being used, whether it is on learning and development side, whether onboarding, whether hiring people, or running your day-to-day operations. There are many companies which work remotely today. Okay, for example, I work from home and I interact with people across the globe, right? So I have people whom I interact with in Latin America, USA, EMEA, be it Asia Pacific, anywhere in Philippines, China, Malaysia. And I mean, that's the reality. Now, if you put one fact there, that is it possible for you to go and travel to each place in the real time? It is going to take a lot of time and effort, right? What can metaverse do instead? It just cuts short all that time, right? And instead make you more productive. Now the part remains is around trust, and we as humans are, very much touched with the fact that unless we see each other, unless we feel those vibes, unless we have a cup of coffee, tea together, or maybe a cup of beer, glass of beer together, we don't feel like, one team as such. But I think that we have to keep in the shelf for now, right? And we have to live with this new reality that this is how you have to build. Now you need to find out new ways of communication, communicating with the teams. How can you utilize multiverse to develop that one team environment is what we need to think, because that's what needs to be imbibed. Often we are trying to push this away, saying, okay, this is the reality, this may happen, not happen. But we have to take at it as a truth and say that this is how we have to deal with it now, and need to figure out ways to, completely transform it into the real world that we would live into. Because today we are calling this world a virtual world, maybe the real world for us tomorrow, right? And we can look at the children today around us, the way they interact with each other, the way they deal with each other. And I will give you example of my daughter. She's like 9 years old. These guys chat even if they are neighbors, right? And they chat even if they have friends in the US or somewhere else. They plan everything. They play games. They come and watch movies together. They do team building games on phones. I mean, it is beyond anyone's imagination that how can an 8-year, 9-year kid do that? But if you just apply that and exponentially see it in next 10 years or 5 years time, I mean, that's how they would behave. And that's how the workplaces would be. So there is no point in running away from it. Instead, we need to figure out ways, how do we make it more interactive? I think we talked about VR, and I was just imagining when Satish and Deepankar was talking about it. You're wearing a VR. It's like Star Trek, right? Welcome to the world. And you suddenly see all the CEO messages, welcome messages coming in. This is how your office looks like. This is what we do. And in minutes, you have everything in front of you. And this is the team that you're interacting with. And the moment you get into that virtual world of interacting with the teams, suddenly you're into a different world altogether. And that's what the metaverse, multiverse would actually mean, right? So we have to live with it. Now, the challenge would be to address that human side of it in terms of emotions. But yeah, can you find ways to do it? I don't know, maybe in the future, if we have technologies which is emerging and which can pass on perfume fragrances from one room to the other, I mean, that can also be possible, right? So we need to embrace that and see how we can evolve or create more ideas to make it happen in a way that the challenge that we face today are being, dealt with using multiverse. So that's how I look at it.
Very true, Deepak, very true. And I can imagine Dia, and it's quite similar with my son here also. They are more, in fact, they know better to use the gadgets than probably us to look at. But I think definitely might be probably the first day buddy lunch is happening over a beer bash, and we are going virtually to take a smoke break. So things would change but yes, the conversations would still remain essential. Probably the mode you have the conversations might change in. So a good perspective there, Deepak. Thank you so much. Deepankar, I would like from you to understand a little on the learning and development side, right? So how would it change the learning experience in an organization? And as HR leaders, right, what investments and readiness we should have do today to embrace this change?
So as Satish has talked about Deepak, and we have been discussing the areas which can be positively impacted. One of them is, of course, L&D. And when you talk about certain readiness, when you talk about infrastructure, Satish told in the beginning, so do we really have the bandwidth in terms of the technology perspective to provide speed where metaverse can work? Do you have something called a metaverse light? Can we make something around it? And so those are certain basic things that needs to be there. If we want to really provide great experiences for people. Now, so as you asked for, focusing on learning parts and journeys. So today, almost all organizations has moved into a hybrid model, and some of them, depending on the type of learning journey, probably would have moved completely virtual. Now, imagine, and we have also had workshops done virtually, which are development workshops as well. A very clear feedback that keeps on coming is probably that's not effective to the extent it would have been done in a F2F type of an environment. The next best thing that can happen against a real F2F environment is where you have your avatars and you interact with people in the virtual world the way you would interact with them in a real world, and that is what metaverse gives us, that opportunity to do it. Now you just imagine for a moment you were having a brainstorming discussion within a workshop, and that is not happening on MS Teams, and that's happening on the metaverse. So in a moment, I'm sure if you imagine the productivity, the quality of results coming out of it, quality of the discussions happening just goes up maybe 10-20x, just like that, only because of the change in the environment itself and where it is working. So I just gave one example, but if you really look at the entire picture, these discussions, then whiteboarding is happening, and there are multiple, I would say, arguments flowing here and there. Okay, that brings out the quality of discussions. Metaverse clearly creates that differential, clearly creates the delta that we would not get in a MS Teams or a Zoom type of a training session for sure, because the warmth of interaction face to face is what brings in the essence of learning together, engaging while learning. And we also talked about collaboration. So a lot of workshops where we drive collaboration, which is the keyword, and probably everyone has understood across organizations that the wisdom of the crowd and the skills of the crowd is much more than the individual, comes true when we really use metaverse. While we have these virtual platforms running everywhere, and people are using it to the extent possible, it would be great if those can be moved into metaverse. Now, you just imagine, Deepak was talking about people across geographies coming in and interacting in a virtual setup as if they are physically present. So it's a mix of cultures and mix of great diversity that's coming into a workshop. It creates great ideas, right? And today, money is everywhere. All organizations have money. What makes them a leader is the idea that comes in, the newness of the idea. So blue ocean today is a little bit passé, as I see. Yeah. So that is what the game is. That's what the play becomes. So, and this is possible only through diversity in opinion, diversity in the way people have been brought up in cultures. And that is where if you can merge these two in a great learning platform, that will create great experiences, one, great learning, and of course, innovation in ideas, innovation in process, and that would create the delta between the best and probably the good organizations.
Great, great. I think quite true. And probably what we need to explore together out here is that as organizations, having that readiness and getting people used to it and creating that collaborative culture which embraces diversity would definitely be the future to look at. Satish, coming on to you, so we've been talking a lot about the positives of metaverse, and it brings in all of us into the reality that is already existing, right? I want to pick your brain on understanding and exploring it out that there are bound to be some negative side effects and drawdowns of the metaverse space as well, right? So what can we speculate about the metaverse addiction and its implication onto the mental health of the individual?
Wow. Well, I guess this is, if I were to put in one of the technology that came in a few years back where we are all hooked up into, in fact, the panel team also got connected to, I don't want to name it for a reason out here. When it was launched, how many of us are there in all the chat applications that are there, right? It's the same thing, right? There will be a good side to it, and there will be a not so good side to any technology that comes in as well. And just to add to what Deepankar said, and going back to the analogy that I drawn much earlier as well, if we were to use virtual hiring, for example, if we were to use virtual learning, look at the number of impersonation that's already happening, right? In the virtual environment, when we do recruitment, no matter what video proctor tool that we have, no matter what background verifications that we do, and all of those, you still have this 0.5%, 1% of impersonation that happens in any organization, for example. It may be more as well, right? That's the flip side to it. Technology can bring in, for the old saying of you can bring the horse to the water, right? But that's something that technology can do. Yeah, there is still that element which I guess both my fellow panelists spoke about in their narration as well and alluded to it. There is still that element of human touch that is still needed to be a progressive HR function, if you want to put, or a people function to put forward, right? Technology, again, in my view, is a great aid. It's a great enabler, but you would need to have a human element out there to kind of negate any of these negatives that are going to hit in as well. Like I said, cybersecurity, to your point, Kanu, cybersecurity is going to be a huge factor that's coming in. And today you've seen headlines, you've seen news by top technology firms, top internet firms. All of them are saying, look, that's going to be a big roadblock for us, right? How do people hack into the systems, right? Into your virtual reality. Your virtual reality will have everything. This is more like your SSN, your social security number. It's more like your Aadhaar. It's more like your PAN being on the metaverse, right? That means you're exposing all of you in the metaverse, because you need to have blockchain based, you need to have crypto based, you need to have secured tunneling, if I want to put it technology wise, when you get into metaverse. And for that to happen, you need to kind of given your credentials into the metaverse, right? If someone cracks in, if someone breaks in, that's going to be a huge flip, right? The way that things are seen today. Yes, it's a big boom. It's a big thing that's happening. But if you look at it even today, the number of the newer ones that you see from most of the banks and RBI is that, hey, there are a lot of app-based loan originators. You download the app, you click on it, you will get loan. And how many of them have been taken back because of those fraudulent applications, right? Which are there in the universe right now. People apply, they divulge all their social securities and all the other information, and suddenly you're pulled back into a different universe by saying either you pay or you're going to go to the internet and social and kind of demean you, right? There are a lot of such applications that are there that's come in midst of all the chat windows that are ease of use that's been created, right? Likewise in metaverse, there will be this non-inhuman elements that would try to kind of get in and try to kind of destroy this entire purpose of creating metaverse as well. That's a huge flip you need to watch out for. That would mean you need to have backup, you need to have cybersecurity geeks out there sitting and monitoring the entire virtual world and any virtual world that you get into, any avatar that you play in. So that's a big question that we have. Secondly, Deepankar spoke about it. What is your attention span, right? In the virtual world, you gag along, in what in IT parlance we call as an agile world, right? 8 or 10 member team get together, they try to resolve a customer problem statement, solution it, and what we call as in sprints, they release it to the customer saying, we've done this and implemented it. But let's presume in one part of those sprint, there is some issue that's happening in the avatar that you're playing. It's a big issue, right? For you to crack it, for you to go to the crux of it to find out where the issue has happened is going to take a very long time. Again, for want of better words, I'm hallucinating right here because the metaverse is still not a reality in most part of it, that what we spoke about. But if it's going to come in, no more hallucination that could happen, right? You have to be on guard, on vigil every now and then. You have to be 100% uptime and runtime, right? Even in today's world, in internet, it's 99.99% uptime that's committed by any player in the virtual reality right now. But that 0.001% makes a lot of havoc, right? So like I said, you need to have an ecosystem that would beat all these non-social elements coming in. You should have backup. You should have what we call as a DR, disaster recovery systems, and so on and so forth. You need to have mechanisms to catch hold of this impersonation from a human perspective, people function perspective. Interview impersonation, you need to have a mechanism to break it, right? Today, the same VR, IR is used. I can create another digitized Kanupriya interviewing with me.
Absolutely.
Right? So who would know? How do you break all of those, right? You need to have all these cybersecurity experts coming in and breaking in all of these silos as well, right? So it's a long way to go, in my view, but there are a lot of flip side to it. We need to kind of try and take it head on one by one when we jump into the metaverse. Yeah.
Very well said, Satish, there. And obviously impersonification is very good. And being same from the IT industry, we know probably there are same people doing moonlighting across various organizations, and that's something with the complete virtual space. It's going to be even more harder. So our cybersecurities and our own infrastructure to catch out on those elements is going to be a very important piece. So coming on to you, Deepak. So again, building on the same, so attrition rates are pretty much at the peak that we can see all across, especially in the tech industry that we look at. So, and enterprises started testing waters with engagement and various activities on metaverse. How do you see that the engagement levels, as well as the brand loyalty, probably that affinity to stick to an organization, would take shape when it comes to a complete virtual world?
So I think, like we were discussing and Satish mentioned, we need to realize that we are still in the SMS age when it comes to the virtual reality. Okay, we still need to transform to things like a chat platform like WhatsApp or Snapchat or something wherein you are very quick at interacting with each other. Today, the first thing when we talk about technology we lack is the way it should perform. Okay, it's still evolving. It takes a lot of time to connect and speak to each other. You have to, I mean, it's still not the way you interact very easily on a chat platform. While SMS were existing and they still exist, and they can also transmit messages. Similarly, these virtual platforms actually help you interact with each other. Now, when it comes to increasing engagement level and utilizing technology there, I think technology still itself has to take a leap. The frequent connection or the speed that you can build in there when you're interacting with each other can build a lot of engagement. See, we work on emotions, right? That one drop of a second, if somebody's not replying to your chat, helps, it brings a lot of other thoughts in your mind, right? And it takes you into a different thought altogether. Similar things happen when you're doing a virtual meeting or virtual connect or virtual engagement. If you have that pause coming in because of technology, maybe a 15-second pause or 30-second pause, or maybe switching off your video, or maybe switching on your video, all these things just kill that emotion in a moment, right? So we need to have one that technology support, which I think with metaverse would come in to play. The attrition because you're working remotely, is it true, or is it happening because of that? I mean, there are multiple forces which are acting currently in that particular area. Could be because we have the opportunities available, could be the lack of managers' ability to engage teams remotely. I think the work has increased when it comes to emotionally engaging your teams when you're actually working on a virtual platform, because you don't have that flexibility or that opportunity to show your face, connect physically in a physical environment, etc., etc., or maybe having a cup of coffee like we discussed. That cannot be possible, right? So what is possible today? If you can build more frequent connections with the teams, even if it is shorter duration, because attention span is one issue, and you cannot have very long discussions on virtual platforms. You need to be very specific to the topic, but at the same time, you need to ensure that while you can't have coffee with someone, but you can respect people, right? You can motivate them in a way they feel good about it. They feel good about interacting with you, right? So all those things can remain. And we have experienced that with the advent of telephone. We thought that how do we talk to each other? We're not seeing each other. I mean, that is over. Now we have video calls. How are we interacting? People see your emotions. People see your expressions when you're speaking on video. Is that good as reality? Yes, it is, because that's what is going to happen. And the truth is you can't be everywhere, right? But you can be everywhere with your energy. You can be everywhere with the connect that you want to build without having that cup of coffee physically. And we forgot the era that we had just seen in the COVID times, where people had parties on MS Teams and Zooms and all platforms. Birthday celebrations, where are those things now? Why are we not discussing those things, and why don't we continue the same, right? So we'll have to figure out those fillers when it comes to building that connect. And maybe that can help us address that emotional issues that may come up sometimes. And also on the communication side, we need to be very, very clear about it, because when you are talking, writing, and you're not physically there, you don't have time to say, oh no, I didn't mean that, I meant this, right? So all those learning needs are emerging, and people need to be aware of it. Managers need to be more aware of it. Managers need to see that this is how these guys would behave. So what do I do? Why should I only force them to be the way I am? Why can't I be flexible enough to meet their requirement? So I think a lot is happening. It's like when Satish was talking, I imagined that long back humans started building shelters, right? And then gradually we realized, no, we need to have doors. And after we had put doors, we said, no, anyone can get into it, so we need to have lock. So that's what is happening, right? We're creating a multiverse, which is open as of now. We will have those walls, and we will have methods to remove or ask anyone to enter and exit. And then we'll have those locks, or so-called cyber security, to stop people from barging in, right? Unauthorized access. So I think the best way to do or live in that world is just take this reality that we live into and cut paste it in that metaverse. Simple.
It's such an easy solution to a complex problem, Deepak. Beautiful way to look at it. Obviously, NFTs and cryptocurrencies coming in, the locks and the security elements would definitely be a lot there. Probably one aspect of HR not talked about yet is on the employer branding piece. So, Deepankar, your thoughts of wisdom here on, so with the increase of traffic, right, and increasing opportunities are there, and digital billboards in busy cities getting too occupied and non-available, right? Would companies begin to explore new and exciting ways to market their offerings to the audience in the metaverse as well? And how would the employer branding piece take shape?
So I'm just sharing one example. I go to make my trip, and I just booked a ticket to somewhere, and data is everywhere. So my organization understands, or the certain organizations understand that yes, this guy is a potential employer, that is a potential employee that's already there, might be a potential employee, and this potential employee, or this person, Deepankar loves traveling. The MMT bookings and all of this show that. Immediately when I book, certain things can come in saying that, why don't you explore an opportunity like this? You have been doing that probably on Naukri and some job boards. We have an employee benefit, which is this one, which will really help you to pursue your these hobbies of traveling. So why don't you just click here and take a look at the organization? So I click on it, I move into the office. Somebody comes and greets me and takes me through, and probably takes me somewhere and speaks. Let me speak. As I said in the beginning, a colleague is just coming in, or an employee is just coming in and saying, okay, these the workspace, and these are certain policies we have. So if you like traveling, so we also have a traveling club. So you click on it, all of these guys who are on the traveling club of the organization comes in. Okay, maybe people are traveling at that time, maybe so you sync on with them and experience it, what is happening there itself. So I'm just giving one example. So there can be multiple such examples. So today we are talking about hyper personalization engines and all of this, which is already there in almost all organizations in some way. So we can use HPE and then use it with something called a multiverse or a metaverse, or even AI will also help, okay, to create those experiences. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a nudge. I'm getting the guy in and not letting him move out at all, because he's enjoying the experience. Okay, I'm playing to what he or she enjoys the most. And then comes the other stuff, your comp and all of this come in. Those basics always remain. So that's one area that I feel can definitely be looked at. The other one, other few, I would say, there are multiple touch points like this in a person's virtual journey. There are multiple virtual footprints that they have. Each one of these footprints can be used to connect with a metaverse. Okay, and of course, when Satish talked about, Deepak talked about cybersecurity, that plays a key role to ensure to what extent can we go to and create that experience, create that environment and boundaries as well. I've walked into a career fair. There would be, so if metaverse is being used by some organizations, I'm sure career fairs would also be used by some technology institutes, colleges, B schools, right? So that instantly creates a differentiator. If you do have a platform of your organization which is on metaverse, and you can experience it right away, maybe in a 2-minute or a 3-minute walk around, chit chat with people around, and you go to the cafeteria, you are hungry and you get something in the cafeteria during the lunch break or something from a candidate experience perspective. In addition, we do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. All organizations do project. What is it to be with them, and what are certain few things that are happening, what are employees talking about. So you go in there, you want to put in, so that's where it would come in. LinkedIn is going to come in. LinkedIn may not remain as we are seeing it today. LinkedIn itself can be meta. So how are we really pitching ourselves there? How are we creating those experiences for candidates, prospective candidates, at a very short type of a bite-sized modules, if it need be? How are we being able to help them while even they are studying? Okay, so probably I talked about a bit about life projects. How can we make it more immersive to them? So employer branding for me is not a particular, while there are certain pointed small time type of a limited time gratification that's there, but at the same time, there is a journey. How can we catch them young? How can we show them what is in it for you? And how can we help them be successful in the beginning itself? It's probably in the first year of engineering, or probably in the first year of their graduation or their MBA. And how can we create those enablers for them to be successful? And then they choose when they want to join us, whether they want to join us, whether they want to go somewhere else. But as an organization, we'll have great contributions in their success, not from an outcome perspective, but actually from an input perspective. As an organization, we are into really securing lives is one of our key statements that we do as Star Union Dai-ichi Life Insurance. And therefore, education is one of our key areas, whether it's CSR, whether it's the way we operate. How can we really help them be there and make them great professionals to take care of themselves, their families, as well as the nation in the future? So I think if we look at metaverse and how we would want to do employer branding is to how we can really support them into an immersive experience throughout their journey when they start off, far before they become employable.
Great. Thank you so much, Deepankar. Good thoughts about not just employer branding, but about positioning each individual into the entire value chain. So great. So while we reach on to the closing of our session, little exciting way to put a summary. I here come with 10 rapid fire questions for all three of you guys. I would request you all to unmute yourselves now and probably just one word answers and how it clicks on. And here we start with you. One word for blockchain, Satish.
Still blocked.
Still blocked. Deepak.
Reality.
Reality. Deepankar.
Can't avoid.
Can't avoid. Okay, good. So, and metaverse, is it a fad or a revolution? Deepak.
Revolution.
Satish.
Revelation.
Deepankar.
I would have a third option. It's a natural evolution.
Natural revolution. So great. The entire panel looking at the similar thoughts, right? Inputs again, third pointers. With human resources, what function would you think would be most impacted when metaverse actually hits the ground at every organization? Satish.
I would say the entire people function.
Within people function, what specific domain?
Onboarding.
Onboarding. Deepak.
Engagement.
Employee engagement. Deepankar.
To start off onboarding, but as Satish said, the entire people function. There is huge potential.
Deepak is being very generous here. So onboarding and engagement definitely comes out as well. A top skill that you recommend people to imbibe today to adapt metaverse. Deepankar.
Digital mindset.
A digital mindset. Deepak.
I think digital agility.
Agility. Yeah. Satish.
LQ, which is learning quotient. I guess it's a sub or superset of what both said. So
Cool. Great. What are you in for cryptocurrency or not? It's a personal question. There we go. Deepak.
Us.
Come on, I just have two options, a yes or a no.
No.
No. Okay, Deepankar.
Clearly no from a BFSI background in India.
projecting in. Satish.
I take a punt. I'll take a risk. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And I think that's where a lot of us are also evaluating on it. So if you get a chance to visit any distant location virtually with the help of Metaverse, where would you go? Deepankar.
Serengeti in Kenya.
Serengeti, Rao. Deepak.
I would like to go to space, have a look at galaxies.
Wow. Wow. Good. Satish.
Seychelles.
Sorry?
Seychelles.
Seychelles. Okay, cool. Great. Nice. Okay. Who will be your avatar in the metaverse? Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Spider-Man, or any other? Deepankar.
I'll go for Mr. Narayan Mukti.
Good. 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 Deepak.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Satish.
It's got to be me.
I love myself. Yes,
Yeah.
Stick to it. Cool. What will happen to the water cooler talks in the metaverse space when your boss is always watching you, no matter from where, you don't know? So would the water cooler talks be any more existing in the metaverse space? Deepankar.
It would be existing. Eventually, bosses will also not be part of it, because if bosses do look at it, their team members will also fire upon the bosses when they have their own water cooler discussions. So eventually, bosses will ease out of it.
Super. Satish.
Yeah, the VR, the room will itself lock the bosses out. So
We'll have a dedicated space for water cooler conversation. Super. Deepak.
So in my view, bosses will have to develop one more emotion to not to pay attention to all those kind of talks and be more logical like Spock in Star Trek.
Different perspective. So the last one, the 3 words of wisdom for HR professionals to be ready for the unreal reality which already exists today. Deepankar.
So one, I would say be agile. The second one which had helped me is think and create your strategies from a future of work perspective. And of course, digital mindset is something, because all human resource professionals may not be engineers and also, but a digital mindset will definitely help.
Perfect. So I love it, Deepankar. All you through, you've been sticking to the digital mindset and one of the real core essentials. Thank you so much. Over to you, Deepak.
So in my view, you need to be aware about societal changes which are happening, the way kids are behaving today, because that's the workforce for you tomorrow, right? So the way they are adopting technology, I think that's the reality for all of us. So we can't run away from that. Second is solutions have to be digital for sure. And anything that we do, if it can't be done digitally, please don't think about it. Right? Third thing is, don't run away from the fact that we are moving into a different world altogether. That's soon going to happen. When I say soon, 5 year, 10 year, but yeah, it's going to happen.
Over to you, Satish.
and now that most has been said, be curious, be creative, be collaborative with the technology as a stack. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, my dear friends. It has been a great interactions, and on behalf of the People First team, Umesh, Neha, all of you guys have been doing an amazing job in bringing all of us together. And a big thank you to my amazing audience there who are actually seeing us virtually, pretty much sitting across the globe. And being agile, embracing the change, and get ready for it is the what. As a closing note, we'll have it on behalf of the entire panel. Thank you so much. Dr. Kanupriya here signing off. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everyone.